Hello, everybody. Welcome to my weekly meltdowns coverage of Survivor Season 44. We're here to recap episode 3. Beth couldn't make it tonight because, she lost her first draft pick tonight, so she's in shambles, understandably so. And Allison is being Beth's emotional support. So I figured today would be a really great time to bring in my fellow nerd and strategist here to talk all things Survivor, because I thought we had a really juicy episode tonight. So with me tonight is Nate. How you doing, Nate?
I am doing great. I'm so excited for this season of Survivor. The cast is great. I like a lot of the characters that they chose to put in like mesh together. I love that the org community is getting well represented this season, which is fantastic. And I actually really kind of like the twists, with the exception of one. But outside of that, it's been pretty good. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's get into it. What twist are you not favorable of?
Oh, inheritance.
Okay, talk me through it.
On Twitter. I think that power is completely broken. It's just I understand it's very exciting, but technically you can get voted out within your pocket very easily, but there is no bad time to play that as long as somebody plays an advantage. And it is just I don't know what they were thinking. I get it's exciting, but it is just no, that should never have left.
That's a good point, and I feel like this is the next stage of the knowledge is power advantage that they tried, and it was a flop all the times they used it. So what would balance that inheritance advantage to you? Maybe Sarah loses her vote the round that she decides to play it or something.
I don't think there's a lot of ways you can balance that without it being insane. I think the only thing that technically is balancing it right now is that Sarah is on the bottom of her tribe. There's nothing there to protect her. There's nothing that is going on. If it's in if it's in the hands of somebody that's in a position of power or already has advantages, then it's just insane. But because it's in the unique position of being in the hands of someone that is in the worst possible position on their tribe this early in the game, it is currently not very effective, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But outside of that, there's not a real way.
Right. And how are you feeling about the birdcage advantage?
I actually really like it. I think it's very nice. I think there's a couple of tweaks here and there that could have made it slightly better. I wish there was a rule. I wish there was a better way to differentiate what was a fake idol or not. I think we had similar discourse with Australian Survivor this past season. But this is a different level where it feels like production is just directly interfering with what can be perceived as an idol. And I feel like that's, from an org perspective, that is very you're supposed to trust the production team. And that feels like I think, that might be the second thing that I don't like. But I think the idea is there. It just needs to be tweaked, really.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. And that brings up a really good point, and a moral question that I feel like modern Survivor is really struggling with is because I feel like they like all the twists and turns of Australian Survivor. I'm gonna be real with you. I think that they love seeing the fuckery of Australian Survivor, and and as fun as entertaining as that is, sometimes it can be a little game breaking. And you're totally right, Nate. You should be able to trust the production to not give you the wrong thing. How are you supposed to how are you supposed to play a game where you can't even trust the rules that are provided to you?
Yeah, exactly. But I'm just glad they're not doing non-eliminations like Australian Survivor. Those can just go away. But
I'm sure we'll spend a few minutes at the end of the show talking about Australian Survivor. I would love to hear your takes on that. So speaking of Sarah, I guess we can start kind of how we've been structuring these shows is we'll talk about each of the 3 tribes and usually end with the one that went to tribal council or whatever. So I guess we can start with the purple tribe. I will never remember the names of these tribes, so I'm just gonna say the purple tribe, Tika. So we get back from tribal council, and Carson's Yeah, I played a great round. Like Helen leaving was very relieving, which I thought was pretty weird to say. Question mark. But yeah, I don't like we didn't really get a whole much here in terms of like
Yeah.
development of strategy. Like Sarah's feeling on the bottom. Carson's trying to get back in with Sarah just in case. But like I think Sarah's a smart enough player to realize like you're just playing like this
Sarah's in
like
a much better position than she thinks she is.
yeah, totally, especially with that advantage.
Mm-hmm.
All she has to do is find out somehow that Carolyn has the idol, and I don't think that's like the hardest task in the world to find
I
out.
disagree with that, but
Okay, okay.
I think here's the thing. Carolyn seems like she's all over the place, but she is the Orger representation, and she is very, from what I understand, she's not in the community that I was a part of. I was more in like Skype and Facebook. From what I understand, she was more in the Discord community.
Okay.
But from what I understand, she's very popular. And I think that shows with the episode. She's a very likable person. I, in fact, would love to have worked with her if we ever had the chance to cross paths. But I don't like Carolyn is not stupid. I think that a lot of, especially I've seen on Facebook where people just don't like her, like, oh, she's all over the place, she's overly emotional. And I'm like, you can be overly emotional, but she's not, that does not mean she's all over the place. She's very tight-lipped about what she's doing. Like, it's very clear that her and Jam Jam are very close, but I think that other than the little slip that she had where she said, why would you like go out of your way to work with us, Carson? Like that doesn't make quite super like much sense to me. I think she gave a little bit away, but I also think that Carson's very naive to like just brush that aside, like, oh, like she doesn't actually think that. But I think she's very intelligent, and she's clearly very aware of the situation of like how her tribe kind of comes together. So
Yeah.
I think she's very smart. She's in it for the long haul, I think.
Yeah, I guess like more so what I meant was like I agree, but like we talked a lot last week about how like Carolyn's like emotional vulnerability can really facade like a great player, like really hidden underneath there, right? But I'm more so worried about like I think that Carolyn like really has a soft spot for Carson in this like little golden retriever type of way.
I guess,
like my only fear is I don't want like Sarah to so like let's say like Sarah like she's desperate, she's on the bottom, she needs to like pull favor somehow. Of course she's gonna go to Carson first. We heard her say that tonight in confessional that like I trust him even more than those two, and he just screwed me over. So I feel like she could go to him and say like, listen, I have this advantage, right? And he keeps that knowledge in his back pocket until Carolyn like really tries to solidify that like Sarah's the next to go. Carson, you're in with me and Jam Jam 1000%. I'm gonna tell you that I have the idol. And then once Carson finds that out, he goes back to Sarah, and that's when it can get like really sticky. So it's not that I don't trust Carolyn as like a game player. It's more I don't trust Carson to like think that he's slick enough to like play this.
That I think that's the other thing. I think Carson is overvaluing his position in the tribe. Yeah. Honestly, like Carolyn and Jam Jam did not need him at all for the previous vote. They could have just went to it, forced a straight up tie, and just said, yeah, screw you. We're like Carolyn and Jam Jam are staying in the game. It does not matter. And worst case scenario, if Carolyn really thinks that she needs to play the idol in that situation, she can play the idol. However, like he is not worth as much to Carolyn and Jam Jam as he thinks he is. I mean, he's not this master strategist that he thinks he is, because realistically speaking, it's either he sides with Carolyn and Jam Jam in the Helen blind side, or he forces a tie and exposes his entire hand. Like he is in a terrible position at that point. And that's like he went with the correct decision, obviously, and he's not like completely stupid, but I do think that he is very much overstating to himself how much value he actually holds within the tribe strategically. I really think like it doesn't appear that way just because of how lackadaisical Carolyn and Jam Jam come across. But they strategically they have a stranglehold on the tribe. Like Carson and Sarah have to maneuver their game plan around those two going forward. They have to. They don't have a choice.
Yeah. And like now that it's down to like the four of them, like I could honestly see a situation where they don't go to tribal again. Like there's rumors of a tribe swap happening, and the preview like
I
makes
kinda
me
hope
believe that it could be next week.
Yeah.
Like it maybe. But in a vacuum where these tribes don't go to swap before merge, like I think they could be good. Like they worked pretty well together here, like in the challenge today and stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah, and any more thoughts on Tika before heading over
I
to
don't think we've been
Orange?
given enough details to really like see how much more that we could flesh out from them. I
Yeah.
think the tribe dynamics for that four are very simplistic at the moment, so it's not.
Yeah,
I don't
but
think there's.
I did appreciate that we did get like not one but two check-ins with them.
Yes. Yeah.
It feels so nice to like have that room in the episode to like see these things.
It has felt like up like now in this particular episode, it feels like every person involved in the game, like that like is still in the game, is important in some aspect. So
Yes.
which is great. That's a great feeling to have.
All right, so let's talk about Ratu, the orange tribe here.
Yeah.
So this is the tribe that like I've really been struggling to like
They're the
pin
best
down. Like I said on last week's episode, Nate, that like these five people could not have less chemistry with all five of each other, right?
Yeah.
Like even this like new bond between Jamie Lynn and Matthew tonight is like fake as hell, right?
Matthew is the one holding that tribe together.
Yeah,
by his one shoulder, his one good shoulder. That is what he's holding that tribe together.
Yes. So I wanted to like just get your overall thoughts. Like, what do you think about the orange tribe? Like you just said, like Matthew's kind of like the ringleader. Like tell me like how you think like the orange tribe is gonna like pan out here.
If I were in that tribe, I would have pegged Matthew as the most dangerous person almost immediately. Just the way he talks, the way he presents himself, the fact that he was like, from what I understand in like Maddie's exit interviews, is that like he was the initial target, and then almost immediately his name was just no, we're not gonna do Matthew. And that would have been incredibly dangerous. I'm like, oh, okay, wow. Matthew is playing strong. However, I think he's playing very precariously. When you're in that good of a position, you need to be incredibly careful about how you come across to everyone else in the tribe at every given moment. And he might be the person that's in the most control, and I think Jamie is probably the person that is most likely to go next, considering what exit interviews have to say. And also this episode with the fake idol situation. But I think that he's in a very strong spot, but it is very flimsy in my opinion, considering the dynamics of this tribe.
Do you think he's like playing up his injury at all, like Tyson and Blood versus Water type of style?
No.
No?
It was confirmed. I think the difference here is that it was confirmed that he did, in fact, by production, dislocate his shoulder, which and it popped. Yeah, so like they did confirm it. The medics said, "Oh yeah, you definitely popped it out and it went back in," which is great. That's fantastic. Now we don't have to do anything, but like just be careful. But like versus Tyson, who like they're like, yeah, you seem really hurt. We're not sure if you pulled it out of the socket or not, or if it went back in, but like it definitely seems at least sprained. And so he was playing it up. Matthew does not seem like he's playing it up. That seems very real to me.
Yeah. And then of course, like we got a big segment for Brandon tonight, him being this like Renaissance man. I was like,
yeah.
God, if this ain't like a winner's edit coming in strong at episode 3, I don't know what is. We got all these like flashback like photos and videos of him. Like he's a pilot. He's a piano. He plays the drums. He does magic tricks. He has his scuba license. Like I feel like he's one career away from like being like a Debbie Wanner situation here.
The interesting thing here is that there are only 2 people currently. Oh no, 3 actually technically, where everyone else is not really talking about them and how they like in terms of like, oh yeah, they're not in a great position or they fully trust me. their games are being defined by themselves, and that's Carolyn, that's Brandon, and that's Matthew. I think currently those are the three that are most likely to win at this point, because edgics don't work in the new era of Survivor, but we still have winners edits. Like,
Right.
people like to claim Gabler didn't have a winners edit. I sniffed that shit out at Merge. Like, he had he had a winner's edit. It was just not as obvious, and it didn't follow the edgic because the editors are not stupid. They don't want to do the same thing over and over again because it becomes predictable, hence why edgic existed. And so they changed the way that they edit, and now it's all about credit. If you get credit for something, then that goes a lot more than how many confessionals you have in a particular episode. So
totally. We also got, like, speaking of like personal content on the Orange Tribe, like, I feel like we got a lot of weird like character beats from Kane tonight. Of course, we saw him singing like "Oh Canada," and then he freaking asked Jeff to like knight him after the challenge, which is awesome.
It was "Oh Canada," but he got the lyrics wrong.
I don't know the lyrics well enough to know.
I don't know either, but according to the Canadians on Twitter, he sang the song wrong.
I love that even better. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of assume that like if they go to Tribal next, like I feel like Kane is probably
Kane's screwed,
right? Yeah.
But I think the way that they're setting up the tribe dynamic with them is that it is, while it is clearly, I think their tribe dynamic is clearly a mess. They're setting up Jamie to eventually be a target over Kane. And on top of that, because now Jamie's a sitting duck. Everyone knows she doesn't have the shot in the dark. She can't play it anymore. Now Matthew can frame her for finding an idol if he wants to. And she's shown to be, whether or not it was because of the circumstances that had happened around the first Tribal, she's been shown to be paranoid very early, which is not a great look, unfortunately, for Jamie.
I mean, maybe it's a situation where Lauren like uses her extra vote to make sure that it's Kane that goes instead of Jamie.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
Like we know that like Lauren isn't a fan based off from Maddie again. It's not in the episodes, but Lauren does not want a lot of women to go early. So that's the plus for Jamie, but like that's still only 3 in a tribe of 5 where an extra vote. So that's,
and the first 3 vote outs have been women, so I feel like she's gonna be like even more like high alert about this being an issue moving forward. So maybe that strengthens like their bond, and
maybe,
I don't know, like, and you know, Matthew could even decide like, you know, she's like, if he kind of pulls a Danny and he like makes like a rumor around the tribe that Jamie has the idol, uses her as like this like meat shield for him.
Yeah,
like,
I do want to talk about that because I found that so interesting.
Okay, let's talk about it. Go for it.
Yeah. So for the Green Tribe, like, I feel like Danny was trying to do that on purpose to just make it certain that like one of the 2 lovebirds went home. Yeah. And it kind of backfired, but like not on him. I think no matter what, that doesn't backfire on him, because at the end of the day, he's not going to go home at this Tribal. Like, he is the most safe out of everyone. Which is a great position, but I don't understand how they're editing the Green Tribe at all. Like, I get the couple thing, it's cool, it gets like, it's a nice narrative edit because we don't really get that very often in Survivor for good reason. But at the end of the day, like, Claire to me just kind of came out of nowhere, and I hate that Jeff keeps pointing it out that she kept sitting out. I'm like, that's actually a viable strategy, like, to not waste your energy. So why point it out?
And like 3 is like nothing to like poo-poo about, like sitting out. I actually looked at the top 5 sit out I knew you were coming on tonight, so I wanted to give you some Survivor trivia here. Can you name the top 5 Survivor players that have sat out the most amount of challenges?
A couple of them are probably from Karor, if I'm thinking correctly. Would that be Katie? Karen would probably be on that list.
Katie Gallagher is one of them.
Yeah. I would guess Abby Maria in Philippines.
Yep.
Oh, shoot. Purple Kelly, maybe?
Nope.
No, okay. I wasn't sure. I'm trying to think of like tribes that
You're
have
missing
very
the top
dominating.
two.
Oh, listen, top two. Shoot. I'm trying to think of like dominating tribes, and for whatever reason, Sandra probably is up there, right?
Sandra is number
Yeah.
one with
Yeah.
13 sit-outs in her Survivor
Yes.
career.
And then it's got to be a more than one-time player. I can't think of. I can't for whatever reason. I'm
All right.
blanking.
So no, you're good. You're good. Very good guesses. So the number one is Sandra with 13
Yeah.
sit-outs. Number two is Courtney Yates with 12.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Yep.
Abby Maria has 8, and
Yeah.
then it's actually a 3-way tie for 7 sit-outs. It's Janu,
Okay.
Katie Gallagher, and Sari.
Okay. Yeah, which, by the way, I have a bone to pick with Jeff Probst about Abby
There's
Maria.
some great players in that list. You know what I mean? Like,
here's the like,
Go ahead.
and specifically Abby Maria. Abby Maria only sat out of so many challenges because she tore her ACL. So like that, and he kept just absolutely putting her on the fire for that. And I was just like, ever since that came out after the fact, it was like, Jeff, stop pointing it out. Like, who cares? They all know she's sitting out, but there's a good legitimate reason why she was sitting out. It's because she literally would have made them lose. Like
Jeff literally did not give a shit about like women's like physical injuries at that time.
Yes.
Like it was like that same season that
Yeah.
like Dana was like literally in a fetal position, looking like the like fetus Voldemort in the last Harry Potter movie, about to like die, and he's like, so you're quitting, right? You're quitting the game. You're not like, and she like can't even like finish her sentence. She's like that close to like keeling over.
There was an all women's alliance the previous season, and the one almost happened in Philippines. And he was like, "Nope, not 2 seasons in a row. We can't let that happen."
You're quitting, right?
Yeah.
Also, shout out to I wanted to point this out tonight because I'm very like critical and picky about Modern Survivor, but man, how like these challenge productions and how they film the challenges are, I think, the best Survivor has ever been. Like it is
in terms of
totally
editing,
polished.
Beautiful. The polish for the past couple seasons, like I showed at my last job, I was showing off like a couple scenes and stuff from like the first couple episodes of, I think it was 43, and then I showed the Bruce scene from this episode. From when he hit his head, and they were like, holy crap, that's a reality show. I'm like, yes, Survivor's like high production. Like this stuff's insane with what they do. I just wanted to give production a shout out there. Production's been incredible with everything. So
also like I also wanted to say about this challenge, like the stacking block thing, that is notoriously like one of the hardest puzzles in Survivor to do, FYI. Like I think there's something like there's like over like 100 combinations or something, so you really just have to get lucky. So
there is like a way to start it, but it is not a guaranteed way because they could easily just change the puzzle. It is not a hard one to mix up. I think there was like a 3-season run though where like you always started with the block that had 3 yellow sides, and that was your bottom piece, and that's what you used to form everything else. But like since then, I think probably Spencer pointed it out. And since then it has changed a couple times every time they did it, and they don't do it as often. So that's but yeah.
Now that you mentioned, no, you're good. I keep interrupting you. Now that you mentioned Spencer, like it's been like kind of like a chatter on the internet lately. Like, should Spencer, Carson, whoever else in the future, should they be allowed to, or not even allowed, but like, is it a fault of production that like people are able to memorize these puzzles? Like, should there be more variety in that part?
Yes and no. I think that the show wants to reward the super fans in a way. And I think that doing it so often is what is the problem. It has now become customary to look back at past puzzles where it doesn't even matter if you're good at puzzles or not. If you have a good enough memory now, that's more important than actually being skillful in puzzles. Being able to do a specific puzzle and put one iteration of that puzzle together is a completely different skill than being skillful at a broader range of puzzles. I've done both. Like through my org experience, there was a puzzle challenge where I was able to practice it over and over and over and over again. It was time based, and I went from solving it in like 5 minutes to a little over a minute. Ended up winning the challenge for my tribe. And then there's other puzzles where it's all the pieces are the same color and they almost all look identical, and you have to solve them, and you just either A, have to get lucky with what you pick out, or B, you have to be able to tell the minute differences between them. And so it is a very broad range of like, how much are you willing to study and how good are you at puzzles? Like slider puzzles, that's not a that's a memorization of knowing
like the strategy of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's completely different than memorizing how to do the ball buoy puzzle that was on 41. Like that's
yeah. I tend to agree. Like I don't think it's like a big enough issue. And like I always say, like, you know, if you want to be better at like the physical part of the challenges, you can improve your odds by like increasing your strength at the gym and like on the treadmill and stuff like that. Like there are ways to like improve yourself in any like aspect of the game. And I think taking the time to memorize that, I think, should be rewarded.
One puzzle I hope they don't bring back is Towers of Hanoi. There's only one way to solve that puzzle. If you know how to solve it, you have minutes of time compared to everyone else. So it's all like, don't bring that back. That's, if you know how to solve it, you automatically win the challenge. Doesn't matter. So
all right. Well, we see the Green Tribe's Soka. I'm trying to say the names for you. Soka. They lost the challenge, their first one today. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad that we finally start getting some content from Josh, like, because I thought that's where this was going for like the first little bit.
I disagree, but yeah.
You disagree? Okay, go ahead.
So the way that they do edits now is that they try to make every single person important in some way to the game before they eventually leave. There are very few exceptions to that rule, which, like Bruce, for example, obviously he was not on he was there for 10 hours. Like that's like they're not going to get much content out of that guy, especially with a concussion. And then if someone goes out because they quit, which hasn't happened in New Era, thankfully, but they tend to just remove them from the edit because they're like, oh, you just decided to leave. How dare you? Like this is your punishment. Or the flip side is that they are too close to the person that wins the game. So therefore they need to make that person less valuable to screen time to make sure that the other person who is the winner is more in the front. That happened with Heather and Erica, where Heather was a lot more influential than the edit actually made us believe. But at the end of the day, Erica won, so they had to give Erica more credit than Heather at the end of the day.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, like I think I guess we can start with like Danny saying it should be Claire. And you know, I tended to agree with him on this vote. Like I see the
there's logic there.
Yeah, of course. Like I don't think this is like way out of left field. And I really liked him saying in confessional, like even before they lost, that like my goal is to keep Franny and Matt around together because they're like a big meat shield target in front of me, so I can hide into the background, not play my idol, and just be good and chilling and stuff. So so Claire makes total sense, and you know, Franny and Matt, they want to hold on to Claire, but like they realize like it's all gonna come down to Heidi. And I want to hear your thoughts on like how did you feel about Claire's approach, like not only at Tribal but like this first like sit down conversation with Heidi. Like I feel like Claire is so quick to just throw out all the information and like I'm just gonna be honest and put it out on the table. Like we saw that in the last episode with her telling Franny to distance herself from Matt. Like I think that she was just really upfront with all of her information rather than like trying to use it a little bit more strategically.
There is a degree to where you can be blunt and people are willing to be okay with it. And then it's a very, very thin line. And I think Claire had a chance with Heidi if she did not call Heidi out at Tribal. And had she just said, hey, just like, Heidi, can I please just whisper into your ear, please? I don't want to like this, because at that point Heidi's like, okay, just play your shot in the dark, because at the end of the day, that it doesn't hurt me if you play it. We'll just vote out one of the love couple, or Josh. Like, that doesn't really matter to me. Like, I know I'm safe no matter what after this. So sure, play your shot in the dark. So that's it. She just put a wall up, and that's not good. That shows she's willing to just throw Heidi under the bus, and that was the real big misstep that just ended the game. And I think Claire realized that, and that's why she was like, okay, yeah, I have to play it now. But kind of wish it saved her. I like Claire. I think she's good TV. But at the end of the day, like, she didn't manage it great, but I think this is like inches of mistakes rather than miles. This is a very good, smart tribe of people. They're all playing at a higher level than I think the edit is actually like fully showing.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Like, especially because like of course we saw like Franny and Matt like talking to Claire, being like, I think we can get Josh, and it's all gonna come down to Heidi. We'll figure it out. And we didn't see a follow-up conversation between Franny and Matt and Heidi. Yeah. So I feel like the couple like came to the conclusion that like, we don't have the votes here. Let's not like put ourselves like out in the crosshair or anything like that. I think they decided that, like, I think the episode made it seem a lot closer of a vote than it actually was. Because you're right. Like, I think Franny and Matt, especially as like a duo, like, they are so smart together, and I think their goofiness tells me that they are emotionally intelligent enough to be able to bounce scenarios off with each other without like taking it personally or getting like sidetracked or anything like that. Like, they're keeping themselves like very like level-headed together, which I like.
They're both like, I really like you, but we both know why we're here. And and they're like, after they're making plans like, yes, when this is over, sure, we'll go hang out in the real world, but like, we know why we're here. We're not here to be the next Robin Amber. Like, this is like, at the end of the day, I think, honestly, I don't think Matt would cut Franny. I think Franny would cut Matt.
I think so too.
I think Franny is a much better player in a lot better aspects. I don't think
her edit is better too.
Yes, it's a lot more positive. I do think Matt. I don't want to lean too hard into Matt, because it's a hard risk at Shipwell. Like, they didn't get the option to opt out of taking the advantage. So no matter what, he was likely to lose his vote for at least one round. He was just the guy that happened to get it twice. But the fake idol, like, I feel bad for him. And people are like, oh, he's the next like Jason Siska. I saw that on Twitter. I'm like, no, I don't think he's that stupid. Like, I think you're either giving Jason too much credit, or you're not giving like Matt enough like rope here, because it's like, he's in a bad spot, in a worse spot than he thinks he is. But at the end of the day, it's like, a lot of this has to do with random chance. It's not his fault that he doesn't know that there's a fake idol in the game. Like, that's not his fault. It's not as obvious. Plus, on top of that, like, the fucking like rules being wrapped with it, of course he's gonna think that's real. Anyone's going to think that's real. I don't think he's stupid. I just think that he's just, the twists in place are just, he's getting very unlucky, and that's unfortunate for him.
Yeah, and even with like the idol that he believes is real, him and Franny decided like not to use it to save Claire. So that tells me that they're feeling like comfortable enough like within their position for it to not be like a concern yet. I almost wonder if like Danny's gonna get in a situation where he's like overplaying a little bit, because like this whole like eating the paper and then like planting all these like seeds and like wrestling all these feathers, when like it's just easier to say like, this is a solid group of two, like, they're a target, let's take them out, like
I think that Matt and
like
Franny,
him calling out Matt in front of Josh, like is like
that was
wait,
so risky and ballsy.
that's
like,
wild to me.
oh God. And it ended up working out for Matt. So that's
now.
yeah, for now. But like
And Danny
according
for
to
now,
Josh's confessionals, he trusts Matt now. So it's like I think that Danny reminds me of Tony season 28 Tony, where
yeah, that's a good comparison.
Yes. The Danny's getting a very positive edit. He's playing very crazily. He's doing all these like sick moves, like trying to like go through the jungle when I don't think anybody saw him. Like he wasn't around anybody. I think he was just doing it to have fun. But like I think at the end of the day, I think that like Danny is going to play himself out. Like that's probably what's going to happen.
Yeah, and like especially if like in this like Tony comparison, right? Like who is his Trish or his Sarah to like calm him down? Like if he doesn't, right? Exactly. If he doesn't,
I don't think Josh is going to be that person for him.
No, I don't think Heidi will either. I think Heidi is just going to be like a free agent like this whole game, in a good way. Like I see more capabilities out of Heidi as like a good player than
she's
like,
my winner pick.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes, she was my episode 1 winner pick. She's from the tri-state area. She's from Pittsburgh. So she has that. And then on top of that, she's showing a lot of traits in her that shows that she's a very strong player and she's the potential to go very deep. I think the edit is not showing her in the best positive light. So obviously I wouldn't be betting like money that she's going to win. I don't think this was actually a very good episode for her, but at the end of the day, I think that she will probably go very far. I doubt that she'll go out before Merge.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and share our updated draft, and then we can talk Australian Survivor for a few minutes. Because the vote was pretty straightforward. Claire didn't win her shot in the dark successfully, and she went out on a 5-0 vote. So sorry, Claire. But here is our draft. So Beth lost her first pick tonight. So
I think Beth has the strongest. I think Beth has probably the most amount of people going out early, but I also think that Carolyn is probably by far her strongest pick. Allison's pool's very solid, and I think your pool is pretty decent. I think you will probably lose Kane before Merge, or maybe
I'm
Sarah.
Okay with that. Yeah.
But I think both of yours are a little bit stronger than Beth's. But yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. Like I feel like everybody, like looking at this draft board right here, I feel like everybody's playing a pretty decent game. Like I think you made a really great point, Nate, that like these players like know what they're doing. So we're seeing like very high level gameplay across like all three tribes here.
Yeah, I think
for the most part.
If I had a prediction, I don't think Carson makes it past Final 7.
Okay.
I think he overvalues his position, and I think that he is not as useful to other people as he thinks he is. And he also just doesn't have the advantages that he would probably need to survive the messiness of early Merge. So I don't see how Carson makes Final 7 at this point. If he gets an advantage, we'll see, but I also don't think that would help him with where he is currently. I think the Orange Tribe would run circles around him, honestly, and they're not united. That's the thing. So yeah, I don't.
Curious to see what happens if there's going to be a swap. Like I really, really hope that is a thing that's happening soon. Like, and even if they go from like 3 to 2 tribes, I think like even that would be like a very refreshing change right now.
I want 2 tribes back. Please give us 2 tribes back. Like, here's the thing. I think 3 tribes was interesting for a while until it was solved. We're now back in that mode where 2 tribes is not solved anymore. So I think that just keeping it to 2 is perfectly fine. I think just what they're afraid of is one tribe just losing everything, which happened a lot in the mid-20s. So that's unfortunate. And then Pagongings happened a lot in that era too.
Yeah.
But I also think with the amount of advantages they're throwing into the game, it gets a lot messier. I think what really sealed the deal on Two Tribes though was Ghost Island, probably. I think that's probably
I
what
hated that season so much.
I don't hate it. It's just mainly because I think the ending solves a lot of that season for me. But it's definitely
I think the cast was just so bad that season.
Part of the problem was they voted out the majority of the entertaining people before the merge, but that's
yeah, that's true.
That's the problem.
That's true.
But yeah.
All right. Well, let's shift over to Australian Survivor. We got a comment from Weston. He said, "Thanks for tuning me on to Australian Survivor. This is my first season, and I'm so in love. It's everything y'all said and more. So thank you for hearing it here and checking it out. I appreciate that. But okay, so we're at the final 6 now. So spoilers if anybody hasn't watched or caught up yet. We're going to be talking like where we currently are. So yes, we're at the final 6. So Nate, give me your thoughts on like overall like the season, who's left, all that stuff.
Jerry will not win the season. I think he is going.
Beth said, like, Beth said last week that she thinks that Jerry's winning the whole thing.
No. Here, the reason why Jerry won't win is that even though he is playing like the best friend to the person in charge, we have seen that archetype before win the game. He is not getting the same edit. So I think he makes the end. He is not winning. Matt is in a worse position. I can see him making the end, but I don't think he wins either. Simon's the long shot. He's the dark horse. I think a lot of people want Simon to win because he is just so anti-George that like it'd be hilarious. But
Nate, I love shitting on Simon. Like Simon is so fun for me to just be like, look at this idiot.
Yeah, it's fun because he knows exactly how bad he's playing. And he's like, to be fair, it could be worse. I could not be in the game still. and I'm like, that's fair. And like you could have played yourself out by now, Simon. And
I would just hate for like this epic, like one of the best seasons of all time to end in a really Simon win. I would be pissed and never like rewatch it again.
It'd be like Eddie winning Caramoan.
Like, yes, exactly.
Really funny. I don't. From an entertainment standpoint, I wouldn't be mad that he won. I would be disappointed because I think George, Liz, and Nina are playing just very much stronger games. And are very aware they're playing much stronger games, but I like entertainment value. It'd be really funny if he won. George, I think the winner's Liz or Nina. I think they're both getting. Nina less so because her edit's been fairly negative throughout the season, whereas Liz has never been negative at any point. It's always been positive. If anybody's said negative things about her game, it's Liz herself, where she's trying to figure out a way to not make it negative. So I think that it's either George as the unpredictable or as the predictable winner, or Liz as the real winner who just takes the glory, basically. So I think that's the most likely part of it. I have seen like one of the leaks about it, but like it's not quite following what I thought was going to happen. So like that's where I'm like, I don't trust it. So it could be true, but who knows? What was it? However, the season's been really great. I think they really amped up the storytelling this season. The episode of Shawnee's Blindside is probably one of the best edited episodes of Survivor ever. It's just like you don't need any context for that episode. Like you could watch that singularly apart from the entire season and understand exactly what's going on. And
same for Haley's Blindside too. I feel like that was like equally as like masterful and effective.
I feel sad because like Haley has that asterisk next to her name where she will always have the benefits of twists behind her of getting far or winning. Unfortunately, because it was very clear that the pre-merge non-elimination was to save her. Whether like they say it's planned, it's it's like Big Brother production. We don't really
Yeah,
believe you.
yeah. A random Pandora's box appears. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like so, like you were saying that like Nina has like a stronger edit than like Maddie or Jerry. Like
Yeah.
Like what is Nina's path to the end? Because like that's the one I'm struggling to
Nina
see.
just needs to get there. I think that she has, if George goes home, if she can get George out before Final 3, I think Nina or Liz win the game 100%. Whoever is able to take credit for it. If they take out George at 5 rather than 4, I think 4 is the worst time for Nina, but it's the best time for Liz. I think 5th is the best time for Nina and the worst time for Liz. Because if George goes at 5th, Liz goes home at 4th unless she wins immunity. And if George goes at 4th, Nina probably went at home at 5th anyway. So that's the thing. I think that Nina has to get rid of George early because there is no way in hell she can win the game sitting next to George. I don't think she can beat Liz, but I think she can beat any of the other 3 guys. So I think she just has a stronger argument. She played better than Simon. So
I don't know. There's a lot of heroes like on the jury that I think
that really like Simon, I know, but
or Nina,
yeah.
over Liz.
Yeah.
I mean,
they can't sit next to each other. I think that's bad for both of them because their games are too similar. But I think that it would be interesting to see them in the final 2 together. But I do think it would be rougher. I don't see any reason why Liz or Nina would want to go to the end with the other one.
Yeah, I was talking to Beth on our show last week about how what I like. I love many things about the season compared to, especially like watching this like alongside modern U.S. Survivor.
Yeah.
But one thing I've really loved that Australian Survivor has done this season is the cross-tribal communication dynamics, information sharing, idol sharing, like on the mat and stuff like that. That was so effective, like heading into the merge, like all of that shit like really mattered. And it was in such a more organic way that it all happened rather than like this like ship wheel island BS that like
forces them to, like the Claire moment talking to Matthew to throw like Lauren under the bus.
And we're spending so much time on like those segments that like ultimately like don't matter and they feel like silly like red herrings. I mean, maybe like production needs to like just gently like pre-season while they're doing like interviews and stuff be like, listen, like it is not against the rules to speak up about something on the mat if something's bothering you, or share an idol with somebody on the other side. Like I just, unfortunately, it's so effective and good. I don't know.
I think that only works for the vet season though. Unfortunately, the way that the culture of US Survivor has been built up, communicating, even in vet seasons, communicating with other tribes in any way, shape, or form is generally very taboo. I mean, the only time that I can really think about it outside the Claire and Matthew situation, that is incredibly unique. Like the fact that happened at all.
Yes. But like, how cool would it have been if like, sorry, I keep interrupting you. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. But like, for example, Tasha cutting off Redacted from like motioning to the other tribes in Second Chance, like
we got a rat.
Yeah. Like it is so taboo in any way, shape, or form. And it's just, it sucks because we're missing this whole other part of the game that Australian Survivor has been capitalizing on for seasons, because it started like, granted, it was kind of manufactured due to champions and contenders, the way their idols work in the second time around. But regardless, like Golden God David took it a step further and was like, I'm going to bamboozle them. I don't care what the consequences are. And therefore I'm going to be in a better position because of it. And he just got overconfident later and like just mismanaged his idols. But like it is so much more organic in how they treat it. I'm sorry for the pitching in my mic, but like in general, it is just so much more taboo, like in just the American seasons, where like this is our tribe. We don't talk to anybody in the other tribes. Like we cannot interact, because like they used to have seasons where that was possible. Like, I mean, it happened accidentally in Cook Islands one time. Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, like it's just people need to relax a bit, and I think that's part of what US Survivor, it has become too much of a sport, and we need some more chaoticness that happens. I think that the only times that we're going to get it outside of a vet season is in a blood versus water season, where people do know each other and they can signal to each other without it seeming suspicious. So that's the only times I think it would actually work. But it sucks, because I do think that would be a really cool thing to see happen more. And I think Claire doing that this season has opened the door, because now people are going to be like, okay, not only do we have to put the right person in the challenges, we can't put the wrong person on the bench. Like that's crazy to think about now. So like I'm very happy it happened. I hope it continues.
Yeah, I mean, like, what if, like, God, what if Matthew had an idol like on the bench there with Claire, and he gave it to Claire, knowing that like if Claire tells him like I'm in a terrible position, like he keeps sitting out challenges, blah blah blah, and Matthew's like, I'm feeling great. I just planted the fake idol for Jamie Lynn, so that's like a good like target decoy. And honestly, I don't feel like anybody's really targeting me right now anyway, which I think is true. I don't think he would even need an idol in that situation. But how cool would that have been if Claire pulls out like these like orange beads, like not even green, right, at Tribal, and plays it, you know? And then all 5 people voted for Claire this round. So Claire herself could have sent home Josh.
That would have been dope.
And, and that would have been so fun, and like no ship wheel island involved. So production, and
on top of that, the fact that Matthew was even like willing to share that Claire told him that information was very incredibly ballsy. I do have to give him credit for that. Like the fact that he went like, yeah, so Claire, the girl that was on the bench next to me, yeah, we talked, and nobody was like, oh, that's odd. Like they're like, she told me this is what happened with her tribe. Like Lauren duped us. Like the fact that like not only was he willing to believe Claire, but also that like people didn't just say like, oh, we're going to punish you for talking to people on another tribe. Fantastic. Like that, like I'm happy that it worked out the way that it did.
I almost wonder if that is a product of like us not really having any swaps in Modern Survivor.
Yeah, I think that might be it. It was a little refreshing at first where we didn't have swaps, because it had been so long since we had a season without a swap. But I think they just need to be more unpredictable with whether or not they're going to do a swap, and not just say, hey, we're going to do 3 different swaps in the pre-merge. Just be ready. Like because that's when it's just too much. Like
that's why I think like a swap to 2 right now in the next episode would be like so exciting, and that would open up the entire game.
Yeah, it's just it's a simple little thing. It encourages organic gameplay. Like, it would be crazy good. Yeah. So, yeah.
But I don't know. That's kind of like my like thesis thought about like, you know, like of course like there's many things that Modern Survivor can learn from how successful this season of Australian Survivor has been. But I really, if Jeff Probst, if you're watching, like I would love for you to like explore like casting people that are interested in those like cross tribal dynamics naturally, you know, like taking those risks on the mat.
I also want more people like Keith Nail. Like give us
just
some idiots
to the plan.
Like, because here's the thing, like we're casting, there is an issue. Like there was a point in time where people were like, oh, we're not casting enough super fans because we're getting too many recruits that are just like, oh yeah, I'll just do what the one person knows what they're doing.
Right.
But now we've hit the point where everyone knows what they're doing. And that is they're gaming the game, and then gaming the gaming of the game. And it's just like, okay, like this is now too much. We need chaotic people who don't know what's going on mixed in with the people that do know what's going on. And like we haven't had a magical season like Blood versus Water 2 in a while. Like I think personally speaking, I think that's a top 5 season because of how the dynamics worked within the tribes. Like I don't care that somebody quit, whatever. Like they even production admits that they thought Rocker's fiance was going to quit regardless. Like whatever. Like one, that season was edited amazingly, but also they had people who were figuring out the game and were willing to figure out the game because they realized like, hey, $1 million is a lot of money. Like I really want to win. So like get competitive people who haven't seen the show, like, or maybe seen 1 or 2 seasons and are just excited to play and are still learning about it, and like throw them in with people who are super fans. Like do a super fans versus non-super fan season. Let's see how that turns out. Like I think that's incredibly more interesting than what we have right now. Like
I mean, well, even like San Juan del Sur aside, like Keith Nail in Cambodia, like he was around like all of these like strategic
and he
super fan like game bots, right? Like
he almost won the season. Like, Keith Nail almost won Second Chance.
Right, if he just played that fake idol, it all would have been different. But he's like, oh, you could just send me to the house. I don't care. But that is such an interesting like thorn in all of the like 3D chess going on around him. It's just interesting to see like how far that can go and how hard it is to like get everybody to come together to get somebody like that out.
It's also really funny to watch super fans try to interact and explain to these people who have no idea what's going on and try to be respectful to them and not be like, you're a fucking idiot. Why are you here? Like, it is so funny. Like, please do that more. Like, like I love that dynamic. I'm sorry. Like, and it's fun for me
you're
because, good. Because like
we kind of had that with Stevie this year too in Australian Survivor.
Yes. Like Stevie has no idea, and like Stevie's like the opposite end of it, where like he knows enough about the game, but he knows that he's not strategically competent enough to be playing on the levels of like Shawnee or George, and so he's just kind of finding his way into the fold of what their plans were, and like that's not what we're looking for, unfortunately. Like we don't want people who just want to do what other people tell them to do. I still felt bad for Stevie with the way he went out. But regardless, it was just that it had more to do with his general personality than the way he was playing the game. So, but yeah, like it just sucks because they're focusing so much more on the game, and the game is very important. I love the game. That's why I'm still watching, but like, I wouldn't be interested in the game if the people aren't themselves interesting. So like,
and that's why like you struck like a casting gold mine with Carolyn, right? Like you get like this beautiful mix of like this crazy, unique, energetic, like off the wall wackadoodle, who's also like an org player, like an org star. You know what I mean?
Like she knows exactly what's going on, and she knows exactly what her position in that tribe is. I know that she does. And the thing is, if Carolyn makes it deep, if she doesn't win, she's going to be the Vanessa of Survivor. If she does win, she is going to be probably one of the most popular winners, I think. So that is my opinion of what's going on.
Yeah, I can see that. That. All right. Anything else before we sign off here? Any orgs or anything that you wanted to promote?
No, actually, I'm borderline retired at the moment. Mainly because I just don't have time anymore. But generally speaking, like orgs only get you so far. There are because there are game bots in orgs too. But that's like the main problem we're having in Survivor. Too many game bots. Like there's too many people who just want to play the game and do nothing else. And it's like, come on, like you're boring. Like. I'm excited for this season. I'm not excited that this is apparently the most medic heavy season, and we have not seen the medic in 2 episodes. That terrifies me. But outside of that, that's please, I just hope there's not like back-to-back episodes of people going home from medical injuries, because that's just such a it sucks for the people getting eliminated because of it. But like on top of that, it is such a momentum killer too. That's what killed Ko Wrong, in my opinion. But yeah.
Yeah, especially if it's like really pivotal or like cool.
Mhm.
Like, can you imagine if like Carolyn got like medevaced? Like,
I
how
would be
much would that suck?
that would suck. Like that would ruin the season for me.
I'm
Like
sorry
if
to keep going back to Carolyn, but
yeah,
like, or
for
Jam Jam, you know, like,
her or Jam Jam, her or Jam Jam, either
yeah,
one. I love Jam Jam, by the way. He's fucking iconic.
yeah,
But the like if either of those two get medevaced, I will be devastated. I do think that the people that they are not showing as much right now, I think they are more likely to get medevaced. I think Josh, for example, is probably high up there as someone who gets
he
medevaced.
does have like a medevac like quiet
Edit. Yeah, he has that medevac edit, unfortunately, which we haven't seen in a while. But I mean, like we saw, like what's his face, Caleb. He was shown a ton in Ko Wrong before he almost died. Like,
yeah,
like so yeah. I think, and then I would technically consider Terry as a medevac, and they showed him a lot. He was so popular early season. So it's just. I hate the fact that this is going to be a medevac heavy season if that's what they're advertising it as, because this is a great cast and it sucks if a lot of them are taken out.
I know. I feel like these are all like my babies, and especially compared to like 43, like I'm happy that I'm feeling this way. So we'll see what happens. But Nate, thanks for joining us, or I say us, but it's only me here. Thank you for joining me tonight here to talk like all things Survivor. You're always welcome back anytime, my friend. And
I hope to be back more. Like, thankfully, my schedule has opened up a bit more, so that
makes me very happy. Like when you sent me that message, I was like, yay! I always love chatting with you because you just like I love talking like strategy and stuff with you. Like I feel
it's so funny because my preferred strategy is the simpler the better. Like if it's simple and easy to follow, it's not even like stick to the plan. It's just if it's simple and easy to follow, it's typically more correct than anything else you're going to do. So that's like why overcomplicate it if it's just going to make things worse. So.
Well, so Allison will be here on Monday to recap season 1 of Yellow Jackets with Rory and Phelan. She's been trying to do that show for a while, so hopefully everybody is accounted for on Monday and she can do that show. And then, of course, we'll be back next Wednesday for episode 4 of Survivor. So that's if you missed it, we decided not to cover Big Brother Canada 11.
I'm not surprised, unfortunately. I think the BB Can had a lot going for it after last season. I'm planning on watching it through because like I didn't have a chance to watch it last season, and I know that a lot of people liked it. And it just really
one of the best seasons of all time.
Yeah, and on top of that, their casting this season is so bad. It is just
terrible.
Oh my god! Like, they're like, oh, we're gonna stick 6 hot gym bros in there, and they're definitely not going to work together. Oh, please! Like, it's just.
And production assigned the bedrooms for them to all be together too. Like, how fucked up is that? It makes me so mad. But
do they want all those Boys season? Like, I think they do. I think they just want a likable group of guys, and it's like, why? Like last season had a likable group of guys, but they were all likable in a different aspect other than being hot. Like, Kevin is a great winner, from what I understand, and he is likable. He's top tier. He's likable, but he's a villain. And it's like, why? I think they want a heroic winner, but we got that. We got that in the Pretty Boys. We got a heroic winner. We're good. Like, we got that in Kevin in season 5.
Yeah.
Like just cast better and just get people who want to play the game. Like last season, so good, and then the season before that was like not as good, but still very strong. Like
I loved season 9. Like
season 9 was strong. Tyshawn's a great
yeah. So it's a bummer, but we have decided not to cover that show. Yeah. We did a draft and everything for it, but once the live feeds, like once we saw what the dailies were and the direction that
I feel like
it's forcing it into,
I feel like they're gagging Arissa so much. Like I feel like she wants to say like this. Yeah, I agree. This really fucking sucks. And
Yeah.
I think, honestly, I think she got outvoted. I really think she got outvoted this season, and that's unfortunate. Yeah, like even Grodner's not stupid enough to get rid of feeds like this.
I know. Like as much as we shit on Big Brother US, like I
Yeah.
feel like they are on an upward trajectory. I think that
Yeah.
they saw how terrible Big Brother 22 All Stars was
Yeah.
after Big Brother 21 was awful as well, and they needed to change course. And I like the changes that they've made to casting and production and stuff. Like,
Mhm.
is it a perfect product? Like, no.
No.
Like, does Julie Chen need to be interviewing every house guest about what their relationship with the Lord is? No. But at least like they are smart enough to clap back at BB Can and say, hey, we're just reassuring you guys, like the feeds aren't going anywhere for Big Brother US. So
like we created this product. We know that this part of the show works. We're working on everything else. Like that's
and you get money for it too.
My opinion. Here's the thing. In my opinion, hilariously enough, they need to make a smaller cast with Big Brother. Not make it 100 days. I don't know who thought that's a good idea. Like the season is just entirely too long. But yeah, just get like 13, 14 people like they used to do. Like that's when the season was at its the seasons were at their best, was like from what, like season 8, not really 9, but 8 to like season 14. And 14 was 16 people, but like it felt like a 14 person season.
Right.
Like from that period, it was fantastic. Like just look at that, take what made those seasons good, and then just implement it back into current modern Big Brother. Like it is, because we keep getting boring winners.
I agree. I totally agree. But all right, well, everybody have a great rest of your night, and we'll see you guys next week.
See you later.
Bye.